The night sky above the NASA Deep Space Communications Center was clear and filled with stars. Dr. Alan Mercer stared at his computer screen, his eyes wide with disbelief. The signal had come from somewhere near Alpha Centauri, and it was definitely not natural. "This can't be right," he whispered to himself as he ran the analysis program again. The result was the same. Alan pushed back from his desk and picked up the phone. It was 3:27 a.m., but this couldn't wait until morning. "Director Graham? It's Alan. I think you need to come see this right away." 2 hours later, the center was buzzing with activity despite the early hour. Scientists in rumpled clothes huddled around screens and spoke in excited whispers. Armed, security guards had appeared at all the doors, and government officials in dark suits were arriving by helicopter. Alan explained what he had found to the growing crowd of important people. The signal has a clear mathematical pattern. It repeats in a way that can only be artificial, and it's directed specifically at Earth. A tall woman in a Navy uniform stepped forward. "And you're certain this isn't some kind of hoax or error?" "Captain Reeves, we've run every test we can think of," Alan said. "This is real. We are receiving a message from an alien civilization." Captain Olivia Reeves nodded slowly. As commander of the ESS Horizon, Earth's first true interplanetary vessel, she had been called in because of her experience with deep space missions. "Can you decode it?" "We're trying. It seems to be using mathematics as a universal language, building up to more complex communication. Give us a few days." Those few days turned into 2 intense weeks. Alan barely slept as his team worked around the clock to understand the alien message. When they finally broke through, Alan was the first to read the translation on his screen. "We need to call the president," he said. The Oval Office was crowded with the nation's top military and scientific leaders. Ambassador William Carter, recently appointed to the newly created position of Earth's ambassador to extraterrestrial affairs, stood near the window, watching the president's face as she read the translated message. "They call themselves the Alarian Confederation," Alan explained to the room. "They say they've been watching Earth for decades. They classify us as Deathworlders." "Deathworlders?" the president asked. "It means they see Earth as an extremely dangerous planet. Higher gravity, more radiation, more extreme weather, more dangerous animals than most life-supporting planets. And they're impressed by that. By us. They think we're physically superior to most galactic species because we evolved in such harsh conditions." The president tapped her fingers on her desk. "And they're asking for our help against these Kravaks?" Ambassador Carter stepped forward. "Yes, Madam President. The Kravaks' dominion is apparently conquering star systems throughout their region of space. The Alarians are peaceful. They have advanced technology but little military strength. They want our help." General Ken Phillips snorted. "We've barely reached Mars and they want us to fight an interstellar war? With what?" Alan answered. "They're offering to share faster-than-light technology with us. They say they can help us. Upgrade our ships?" "Even so," Captain Reeves said. "We know nothing about these aliens or their war. This could be a trap." The room fell silent as everyone considered the possibilities. Humanity had just learned they were not alone in the universe, and their first contact was a plea for military aid. The president spoke carefully. "We need to respond somehow. Ambassador Carter, what's your assessment?" Carter cleared his throat. "Madam President, this is clearly the most important moment in human history. If these Alarians are telling the truth, we have an opportunity to join the galactic community. They're offering advanced technology in exchange for our help." "And if they're lying?" General Phillips asked. "Then we need to know that too," Carter replied. "I recommend we send a small delegation to meet them at the coordinates they provided. Captain Reeves and the Horizon would be ideal for this mission. We can include diplomatic, scientific, and military personnel." 3 days of debates followed. Every nation on Earth had opinions about how to respond to the alien message. Some wanted to ignore it completely. Others wanted to send a massive military fleet. In the end, the United Nations Security Council voted to approve Ambassador Carter's plan. The ESS Horizon was quickly retrofitted with experimental engines based on the principles the Alarians had shared. Captain Reeves selected her crew carefully, including Dr. Alan Mercer, Ambassador Carter, and a small contingent of soldiers led by General Kate Pearson. On the day of launch, thousands gathered to watch the Horizon depart from its orbital dock, above Earth. Millions more watched on screens around the world. In his private quarters aboard the ship, Ambassador Carter practiced what he would say when they finally met the aliens face to face. The gravity of the situation weighed on him. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community would set the tone for centuries to come. Captain Reeves's voice came over the ship's communication system. All personnel prepare for departure. We will be testing the new drive system in 5 minutes. Carter sat on his bunk and looked out his small window at the blue planet below. Before accepting this mission, he had given a speech to the United Nations that had helped sway the vote. We have been called not because we are warriors, he had told them, but because we survived a world that would kill most sentient species. Our strength was forged in adversity. Now we must decide if we will use it to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The ship hummed around him as the new engines powered up. Humanity was about to answer the call. In the control room, Captain Reeves gave the final command. Engage FTL drive. The stars blurred around them as the ESS Horizon jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying the first humans to ever leave their solar system. They were heading toward an uncertain meeting with aliens who saw them as powerful Deathworlders, warriors from a harsh planet, who might turn the tide in a war among the stars. None of them knew what they would find, but they all understood one thing: nothing would ever be the same again. The journey to the edge of Alarian space took 3 weeks. The new faster-than-light drive worked better than anyone had expected, but the distance was still vast. During that time, the crew of the ESS Horizon studied everything the Alarians had shared about themselves and the galactic situation. Dr. Sam Rodriguez spent most of his time reviewing the biological data. As the mission's lead xenobiologist, he needed to understand the aliens they were about to meet. This is amazing, he told General Kate Pearson as they sat in the ship's mess hall. According to these files, the average Alarian is only about 5 feet tall and weighs less than 100 pounds. Their home planet has about 70% of Earth's gravity. Kate sipped her coffee. So they're small. What else? They have brittle bones compared to ours. Their muscle density is much lower, and their cardiovascular system couldn't handle Earth's atmospheric pressure. Sam pushed his tablet across the table. Basically, they evolved on a world much gentler than Earth. And the Kravaks? The ones we're supposed to fight? Sam shrugged. Less data on them. They seem to be from a planet with gravity closer to ours, but still less. More physically capable than the Alarians, but nothing like humans. Lieutenant Ryan Mitchell joined them, carrying a tray of food. As the ship's best pilot, he had been studying the alien spacecraft designs. Their tech is impressive, though. Some of these ships could run circles around anything we've built. Kate nodded. Good pilots matter more than good ships. We'll see, Ryan said. I just hope they don't expect miracles from us. Captain Reeves's voice came over the speakers. All senior personnel to the bridge. We are approaching the rendezvous coordinates. The bridge was crowded as the ESS Horizon dropped out of FTL travel. On the main screen, they saw a group of sleek, silver ships waiting for them. We're being hailed, the communications officer said. Put it through, Captain Reeves ordered. The screen changed to show a strange face. The alien had pale blue skin, large purple eyes, and no visible nose. Its mouth was small, and it had what looked like gills on the sides of its slender neck. Greetings, humans of Earth, it said in perfect English. I am Zarleth, ambassador of the Alarian Confederation. We welcome you to galactic space. Ambassador, Carter stepped forward. Thank you, Ambassador Zarleth. I am William Carter, representing Earth. We received your message and have come to learn more about your situation. The alien bowed slightly. We are grateful. Please follow our vessels to the safe station where we can meet in person. The safe station turned out to be a massive space station with carefully controlled environments for different species. The human delegation was given a section adjusted to Earth normal conditions. The first face-to-face meeting was awkward. The Alarians wore what looked like mechanical exoskeletons just to stand in the Earth-normal gravity of the human section. Even with this help, they moved slowly and carefully. "Please forgive our clumsiness," Zarleth said as he carefully sat down across from the human delegation. "Your natural environment is quite challenging for us." Ambassador Carter smiled politely. "Perhaps we should meet in your section next time. Most kind, but unnecessary. We must grow accustomed to working with you." Zarleth placed a small device on the table that projected a map of the galaxy. "Let me show you the current situation." The map showed Alarian territory in blue, Kravax in red, and other civilizations in various colors. Earth was a tiny dot at the edge. "The Kravax began their expansion 50 of your years ago," Zarleth explained. "They have conquered 12 formerly independent worlds and show no signs of stopping. Their next targets are clearly our outer colonies." General Pearson studied the map closely. "What kind of military forces do they have?" "Their fleet is approximately 3 times the size of ours. Their weapons are similar in technology, but they are much more willing to use them." Zarleth's large eyes blinked slowly. "We Alarians have always been more focused on science and trade than warfare. And what exactly do you expect from us?" Kate asked. "We have 1 interstellar ship and no experience with your kind of weapons." Zarleth touched another control, and the projection changed to show human figures compared to Alarian and Kravax bodies. "What we lack, honored humans, is your physical capabilities. We have observed your species for many years. You are stronger, faster, and more durable than almost any known sentient species." Sam leaned forward with interest. "Because we evolved on a high-gravity world with more environmental dangers." "Precisely. A death world, as we classify it." Zarleth looked at each human face. "We can provide the technology. We need you to provide the physical ability to use it effectively in combat." Later that day, a small accident demonstrated exactly what the Alarian meant. Lieutenant Ryan Mitchell was helping move some equipment when he accidentally bumped into an Alarian technician. The alien fell to the ground with a sharp cry of pain. "I barely touched him," Ryan said as Dr. Rodriguez rushed to help. Sam ran a scanner over the fallen alien. "You broke 3 of his ribs with just a bump." That night, the human delegation met privately to discuss what they had learned. "They want to use us as soldiers," Kate said bluntly. "They have the ships and weapons, but not the physical strength to fight effectively." Ambassador Carter nodded. "That appears to be the case." "Is that so wrong?" Captain Reeves asked. "They're facing extinction if the Kravax continue their expansion. We have the ability to help." The debate continued for hours. Some argued that Earth should stay out of an alien war. Others felt a moral obligation to help the peaceful Alarians. Their discussion was interrupted by alarms blaring throughout the station. Captain Reeves received an urgent message from the horizon. "Kravax ships approaching," she told the others. "A small fleet. Looks like they decided to come see us for themselves." Ambassador Carter looked grim. "We need to decide now. Do we stand with the Alarians or do we withdraw?" Before anyone could answer, an explosion rocked the station. The Kravax weren't waiting for a diplomatic solution. Lieutenant Mitchell ran to the window and saw 3 sleek, aggressive-looking ships firing on the station and the Alarian vessels. "They're not giving us a choice," he said. General Pearson was already issuing orders to the small contingent of soldiers they had brought. "Get our people to the horizon. We need to show these Kravax what happens when you attack humans." As they rushed to battle stations, Ambassador Carter caught her arm. "This isn't what we came here for." Kate's face was hard. "No, but it's what we found. Those aliens started this. Now they get to learn why you don't pick fights with Deathworlders." 1 month had passed since the first battle with the Kravax. That brief fight had changed everything. The ESS Horizon, despite being just 1 ship against 3, had managed to drive off the Kravax attackers with surprising ease. Videos of human soldiers moving faster and fighting harder than any alien had expected spread quickly across the galactic networks. Commander Nicole Bennett stood at the window of the new human base on Alaria Prime, the homeworld of their alien allies. As leader of Earth's Special Forces Unit, she had spent the last month training her soldiers to fight in various alien environments. "Commander, you need to see this," said Jack Franklin, walking into the room with a tablet. Jack was a civilian engineer who had come with the second wave of human ships from Earth. His job was to adapt human technology to work with alien systems. Nicole looked at the screen. It showed the wreckage of a Kravax ship that had been shot down during their latest attack. "What am I looking at?" she asked. "Their ship designs," Jack said, pointing to specific parts. "They've started to reinforce everything. Adding armor, strengthening bulkheads, they're trying to make their ships more like ours, built to withstand high pressure and impacts." Nicole nodded. "They're learning. How soon until the next attack?" "Intelligence says within days. They're gathering a much larger fleet this time." The door opened again and Harold Wilson entered. As the political liaison between Earth and their new alien allies, he looked tired from endless meetings. "The Alarian High Council is requesting your presence, Commander," he said. "They're concerned about our latest battle plans." Nicole sighed. The Alarians were brilliant scientists, but very cautious. They constantly worried about the aggressive tactics humans preferred. "Tell them I'll be there in an hour," she said. Later, in the council chamber, Nicole faced the 7 members of the Alarian High Council. Zarleth, now the primary contact between humans and Alarians, stood beside her. "We have concerns about your proposed assault on the Kravax base in the Terrace system," said the head counselor, an elderly Alarian with pale blue skin that had faded, almost to white with age. Nicole kept her voice calm. "The base is a key supply point for their fleet. Taking it will cripple their operations in this sector." "But the planet has a toxic atmosphere," another counselor objected. "No Alarian could survive there without extensive life support." "Humans can," Nicole replied. "With basic breathing masks, we can function in that environment for up to 12 hours. The Kravax won't expect an attack because they think no one can survive there." The counselors whispered among themselves. They still struggled to understand just how resilient humans were compared to most galactic species. Zarleth spoke up. "Commander Bennett's plan is sound. The Kravax are adapting to our alliance, but they still underestimate human physical capabilities." 2 days later, Nicole led her team into battle. 50 human soldiers dropped onto the toxic planet's surface from stealth shuttles. The air was thick with yellow clouds that would dissolve an Alarian's lungs in minutes. Even the Kravax guards wore full environmental suits. The humans wore only breathing masks and lightweight armor. They moved through the harsh landscape with ease, surprising the Kravax at every turn. Within hours, they had captured the base with minimal casualties. Inside the command center, Nicole found something unexpected: a Kravax officer who had been left behind in the chaos. Unlike the other Kravax who had fought to the death, this one surrendered immediately. "You speak our language?" Nicole asked, surprised to hear the alien respond to her commands in English. "I am Drakor, intelligence officer," the alien said. It was taller than an Alarian, with rough reddish skin and 4 eyes set in a wide face. "I have studied your species since your arrival." Nicole had him secured and transported back to Alaria, prime for questioning. This was the first high-ranking Kravax they had captured alive. Back at the base, Harold Wilson and Dr. Sam Rodriguez joined Nicole for the interrogation. Sam was particularly interested in studying a healthy Kravax up close. "Why did the Dominion attack the Alarians?" Harold asked Drakor directly. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "The Alarians were developing technologies that threatened us, and they had made contact with your world." "Earth? But we didn't even know aliens existed until recently," Nicole said. "Our intelligence network detected Alarian probes near your solar system decades ago. We knew they were watching you." Drakor's voice was raspy but clear. "Our scientists predicted that humans would eventually join the galactic community. We wanted to eliminate potential allies before that happened." Sam leaned forward. "You knew about us? How?" "We intercepted Alarian research data. It classified Earth as an extreme death world and humans as potentially the most physically dangerous sentient species in the known galaxy." Drakor tilted his head. "We did not believe the data until we saw you fight." Harold frowned. "So you attacked the Alarians because you were afraid they would ally with us someday?" Yes, the Dominion expands by conquering weaker species. We had never encountered a species that might be stronger than us. Drakor looked at Nicole. After seeing humans in battle, many in the Dominion leadership want to end this war. This revelation changed the strategic picture completely. Nicole immediately reported to General Pearson, who had arrived with the second wave of ships from Earth. If what Drakor says is true, we might be able to force a peace settlement sooner than expected, General Pearson said after hearing Nicole's report. But can we trust anything he says? Jack Franklin asked. He had joined the meeting to discuss new weapons he was developing with Alarian scientists. We need to test his claims, Nicole suggested. If the Kravaks are truly afraid of humans, let's give them more reason to be afraid. My team can hit 3 more of their bases in rapid succession. General Pearson considered this. Do it. But take Jack's new weapons with you. Let's show them exactly what happens when Deathworlders go to war. The next week was a turning point in the conflict. Nicole's special forces, equipped with hybrid human-Alarian technology, struck Kravaks outposts across the sector. They specifically targeted environments that would be challenging for normal species: high-gravity worlds, toxic atmospheres, extreme temperature zones. The message was clear. There was nowhere in the galaxy that humans couldn't fight and win. After the successful raids, a Kravaks diplomatic vessel approached the Alarian defense perimeter under a flag of truce. They were ready to talk. The war wasn't over, but for the first time, victory seemed possible. The Deathworlders had answered the call, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Diane Russell watched from the bridge of her flagship as the combined human-Alarian fleet moved into position around the gas giant. 6 months had passed since the Kravaks had first requested peace talks. Those talks had failed when hardliners in the Dominion overthrew the moderate faction that had proposed them. Now the war had entered a new phase. Earth had sent more ships and soldiers. The Alarians had shared more of their advanced technology. Together they were pushing deeper into Kravaks territory. Fleet is in position, Admiral, reported her second-in-command. Diane nodded. Begin the operation. The fleet split into 3 groups. One remained in orbit around the gas giant. The second headed toward its largest moon, where the Kravaks had built a massive refueling station. The third group, led by Sergeant Paul Winters, descended into the gas giant itself. Paul's team was flying specially modified shuttles. The pressure at their target depth would crush any normal spacecraft, but these vessels had been built with Earth submarine technology combined with Alarian energy fields. Remember, we only have 4 hours before the pressure becomes too much even for our ships, Paul told his mixed team of human and Alarian special forces through the comm system. The Alarians wore extreme pressure suits that mimicked human physiological resilience. I still cannot believe we are doing this, said Krell, one of the Alarian soldiers. No species has ever attempted combat inside a gas giant before. That's why the Kravaks won't expect it, Paul replied. Their sensor station at the core controls their entire defense network in this system. We take it out, and their ships will be blind when our fleet attacks. They descended through layers of colorful clouds, fighting intense winds and electrical storms. The Kravak station came into view, a dark, spiky structure floating in the dense atmosphere. No external defenses, Paul observed. They never imagined anyone could reach them here. The team docked with the station and cut through its outer hull. Inside, the surprised Kravak security forces were no match for the human-led assault team. Within 30 minutes, they had captured the station and planted explosives on its key systems. As they returned to their shuttles, Paul received a message from Admiral Russell. Sensor station secure. The fleet is engaging Kravak's forces now. Above the gas giant, the space battle was unlike anything either species had seen before. Human tactics combined with Alarian technology proved devastating. The Kravak's fleet, suddenly blind without their sensor network, fell into disarray. When it was over, the Dominion had lost one of their most important staging areas. News of the defeat spread quickly through Kravak space, along with stories of the impossible raid inside the gas giant. Back at the main Alarian base, Linda Howard was working hard on new peace proposals. As Earth's chief negotiator, she needed to find terms that would end the war while ensuring security for both the Ilarians and humanity. The problem, she explained to Admiral Russell during a strategy meeting, is that many species are now as afraid of us as they are of the Kravaks. Diane frowned. We're fighting to protect the Ilarians, not to conquer anyone. I know that, but think about how this looks to others, Linda said. A previously unknown species suddenly appears with physical capabilities far beyond the galactic norm. Then they start winning battles in environments no one else can even survive in. It's frightening. Elder Thrix, a representative from the neutral Galactic Council who had been observing the war, nodded in agreement. He was from an ancient species that had evolved on a world even gentler than the Ilarian homeworld. His fragile body was mostly supported by a hovering chair with medical attachments. Humans are changing the balance of power, Elder Thrix said in his whispery voice. For many millennia, technology determined the outcome of conflicts. Now biology, your biology, has become the deciding factor. Admiral Russell considered this. So what do you suggest? The Kravaks must be contained, but afterwards you humans face a choice, Elder Thrix replied. Will you use your strength to protect or to dominate? The path you choose will shape galactic politics for centuries. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. The Kravaks had launched a massive attack not against Ilarian space but directly toward Earth. They're trying to hit our homeworld, Admiral Russell said, jumping to her feet. They must think if they threaten Earth we'll withdraw from Ilarian space. Linda looked pale. Earth only has a fraction of our fleet for defense. Recall all ships, Admiral Russell ordered. We need to intercept that attack force before it reaches the Sol system. The next few days were a race. Human and Ilarian ships pushed their engines beyond safe limits, trying to catch the Kravaks' fleet. They finally intercepted them at the edge of human-controlled space. The battle was the largest of the war so far. Over 200 ships on each side exchanged fire in a desperate struggle. Human captains took incredible risks, flying their ships into situations that would mean certain death for any other species. Sergeant Paul Winters led a boarding party onto the Kravaks' flagship. Fighting through corridors filled with enemy soldiers, his team reached the bridge and captured the Kravak Supreme Commander, Bexnar. With their leader captured and nearly half their fleet destroyed, the remaining Kravaks ships retreated. The attack on Earth had been stopped, but at a heavy cost. 3 human ships had been destroyed and many others were badly damaged. In the aftermath, Admiral Russell personally interrogated Vexnar. Why target Earth? She demanded. You must have known we would defend it. The Kravaks commander's 4 eyes studied her with what might have been respect. It was our final option. Our scientists predicted that if the war continued, humans would eventually overwhelm us. You adapt too quickly. You fight in environments we cannot. We thought if we threatened your homeworld, you might agree to peace. Peace is always an option, Admiral Russell said. But not through threats. Then how? Vexnar asked. Linda Howard, who had joined the interrogation, stepped forward. By understanding each other. We don't want to conquer your worlds. We only wanted to protect the Ilarians. Vexnar was silent for a long moment. Perhaps there is another way. A demonstration of strength can sometimes prevent war rather than cause it. This gave Linda an idea, one that might finally bring the conflict to an end. The question was whether the rest of the galaxy was ready for the role humanity would play in its future. 1 year after humanity had answered the Ilarian distress call, representatives from 27 different galactic species gathered on neutral ground. The space station Unity had been built specifically for this historic peace conference. President Allison Garcia of Earth walked slowly through the grand hall. As leader of humanity's united government, she carried the hopes of 2 worlds on her shoulders. Earth had changed dramatically in the past year. The knowledge that they were not alone in the universe had united humans in ways no one could have predicted. Nervous? Asked Dr. Eric Matthews, who walked beside her. Eric had become the leading expert on relations between humans and other species. A little, Allison admitted. I never imagined being the first human president to sign a galactic peace treaty, You're doing fine, Eric assured her. Just remember what we discussed about alien customs. The main chamber was designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. The Alarians had their low-gravity section. The Kravax delegates stood on platforms that raised them slightly above everyone else, a position of dignity in their culture. Humans, now known throughout the galaxy as the Deathworlders, were given a central position. Supreme Commander Vexnar, now leading a new Kravax government, approached President Garcia. After his capture, Vexnar had returned to his people with a message: continuing the war against humans was futile. Better to make peace while they still could. President Garcia, Vexnar said with a formal bow. My people are ready to sign the treaty. Allison nodded. As are mine. The terms are fair to all sides. The treaty had been carefully crafted by Linda Howard and her team. It established new borders for the Kravax Dominion, protection for Alarian worlds, and recognition of Earth as a major galactic power. Most importantly, it created a framework for ongoing cooperation and communication. In a quiet corner, Captain Daniel Hayes watched the proceedings with mixed feelings. As a veteran of the fiercest battles of the war, he found it hard to think of the Kravax as anything but enemies. Difficult to watch? Asked a voice beside him. It was Elder Thrix in his hovering chair. Yes, Daniel admitted. I lost friends fighting them. War leaves scars that peace cannot fully heal, Elder Thrix said. But consider the alternative. Without this treaty, how many more would die? Daniel nodded. I know you're right. It's just not easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is, the ancient alien replied. Your species has a unique opportunity now. Your strength earned you a place at this table, but your wisdom will determine what you do with that place. The formal signing ceremony began. Each species representative approached the central table and placed their mark on the treaty. When it was Earth's turn, President Garcia stepped forward. Before signing, she addressed the gathered delegates. 1 year ago, humanity did not know we shared the universe with other intelligent beings. We were alone, or so we thought. Then we received a call for help and we answered. We did not seek war, but we fought because others needed our protection. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of various alien representatives. Today, we seek a different path. Yes, humans come from what you call a death world. Yes, we are physically stronger than many of you. But strength comes with responsibility. We pledge today not to use our strength to conquer or dominate, but to protect and build. With those words, she signed the treaty. A new era of galactic politics had begun. Later that day, Dr. Eric Matthews gave a presentation on his latest research. He had been studying the effects of different planetary environments on various species. The most fascinating discovery, he told the gathered scientists, is that prolonged exposure to Earth-like conditions is causing subtle biological changes in some aliens. Nothing dramatic, but after just 1 year, we can measure increased bone, density and muscle mass in Alarians who have spent time on human ships or stations. An Alarian scientist raised a hand. Are you suggesting that other species could adapt to become more like humans? Over many generations, yes, Eric said. Environments shape species. Earth shaped us into what you call Deathworlders. Now, as we all interact more, those pressures will influence evolution in new ways. This research raised profound questions about the future. Would the galaxy eventually be filled with species more like humans? Or would technology allow everyone to thrive in their preferred environments without changing? Meanwhile, in a training facility on one of the station's lower levels, Sergeant Paul Winters was working with the first truly integrated military unit. It included humans, Alarians, and even a few Kravax who had sided with the peace movement. Again, Paul said as they practiced a rescue operation, speed is what matters here. One of the Kravax recruits, much stronger than the Alarians but still not as strong as the humans, looked frustrated. This would be easier if we were all built the same. But we're not, Paul replied. That's why we train together. You each bring different strengths. Together, we're stronger than any single species could be. This was the new philosophy that was spreading throughout the galaxy. different species with different abilities, working together rather than fighting. As the conference concluded, President Garcia met one last time with her counterparts from the Alarian Confederation and the Kravax Dominion. They stood at a viewport looking out at the stars. "What happens now?" asked the Alarian High Counselor. "We build something new," Allison said. "The Galactic Concord we signed today is just the beginning." Vex Nar, his 4 eyes reflecting the starlight, nodded slowly. "We feared you when we learned of Earth's Deathworlders. Perhaps that fear was justified, but not in the way we thought. Your strength could have conquered us all. Instead, it brought us to this moment." President Garcia smiled. "We answered the call not because we sought war, but because we understood what it meant to fight for survival. Earth made us strong, but it also taught us the value of every life, no matter how different from our own." As their ships departed the neutral station the next day, humanity took its place among the stars. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. The Deathworlders had gone to war, and in doing so they had found a path to peace.